everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses in different chapters on what they love about their business, how they're helping their community, and how has the BNI family helped their business. So today, I'm super excited to have my guest Tabb with us today. Tabb, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Macy.
Of course. Well, Tabb is the VP of the Profit Builders chapter up in Jacksonville, which I've had so much fun and had the pleasure of getting to know so many members in your chapter. So when you reached out and you're like, I would love to be on the podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, this is a no-brainer. As well as a gentleman in your chapter has started a podcast. So I've been watching those episodes as well, and I've watched yours, and just great job and so much great content being put out there in your chapter. So super
Appreciate it.
excited and
We
thrilled to
try.
have you. Oh, of course. So why don't you just kick us off and tell us a little bit about Thryv and how you help people?
So, Thryv has been around for about 8 years. It
Oh,
actually
okay.
started out with the real Yellow Pages. So our company was the Yellow Page company that did some digital. Now we're a digital software company, a SaaS company that still does some Yellow Pages. So we've been around in marketing for 200 years, in print and stuff like that, right? You probably don't even know what the Yellow Pages are.
I
Um,
do. I do.
a lot of people, and people still utilize those on a regular basis. I've got some attorneys here in Jacksonville that are getting 400 calls still out of the print books.
Wow.
But we've had to, modernize our business and change our business platforms over the last 15 years, just like everybody else, right? So that's where we became a software company, a SaaS company, to do everything from digital marketing, social media, email marketing, websites, your CRM, to really the full gambit of helping the business owner modernize what they do. Because it's all about being more efficient with your time, right? And so our software gives business owners the capabilities to be able to do that.
That's amazing. I actually have the funniest when I was a kid, maybe I always had the entrepreneur spirit in me, but I was like, I wanted to start a scrapbooking business outside of my home. I was like 7. Okay, I don't know what I was doing, but I put a sign on my door and I was like, come at these hours. And one of the gentlemen who were delivering yellow pages at the time, he stopped by our door because to give us the yellow pages, and he's like, your business is in there. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like looking, and my mom's like, he was just being nice. And I was like, oh, she's like, we have it. It's not, it's just a piece of paper on the door, honey.
Yeah.
So I have very fond memories of Yellow Pages because of that. I always think about that moment. Like I was very young to have remembered, I think that. But that's so awesome to hear. Like it sounds like you guys, it's so great to hear marketing companies like that have been around for so long and constantly keeping up with the new things instead of maybe a newer company just coming out of the shadows and saying, oh, I can do this new thing. But you guys, I think some of the organic stuff of marketing, it doesn't go away. You just have to
Yeah.
adapt to what people are, how people are getting their information nowadays. But the core of it doesn't change. I would love for you to share a little bit about the Thryv platform because it's very multifaceted from what I remember.
It is. So like I said, we are a all-in-one platform. So inside of our Thrive platform, you can actually, it's the heart of it is a CRM, customer relationship
Hmm.
management
Right?
software. Nowadays people have, 2 or 3 different cell phones, different, social media accounts. Think of how much the media has fragmented over the last, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So what Thrive does is Thrive kind of brings all that back into one place. You've got one spot for all your customers, all your customer interactions, your client appointments, your website, your digital marketing, email blasts. Think about this, Mason. Let me ask you a question. Do you check if you get a text message or an email at the same time? Which one do you check first?
Text.
Text. So we do a lot of text and email marketing campaigns inside of the Thrive platform. But one of the first things that I'm working with business owners on when they come on board with this is, did you know there's 60 to 70 different internet platforms that a business can be listed on nowadays? It's not just
Wow.
Yellow Pages, and the internet, right? There's
Right.
so many different Yahoo, Yext, Amazon Alexa, Google Voice. How does a business owner that's just starting out or rebranded their business get out there on all those platforms?
Mm.
That's where Thrive kind of comes in and be able to publish those listings across all those platforms at one time.
Mm-hmm.
But the other biggest component that we have that a lot of my business owners really love is the social media integration. You can integrate Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter. all in one platform. So now instead of a business owner having to go to each of those individual platforms to post, they just go directly to their Thryv platform and make their post for the day, for the week, for the month. And then that's one less thing they got to do every day because they know it's already set up.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
sorry. So it's really
No, yeah,
designed to help those business owners automate and make their life a lot easier in one easy step. And it's all,
definitely.
you can do it on different mobile devices.
Yeah, and another part that I really love about Thrive, and this is what I learned from the podcast I was listening to the gentleman you did it with, Dan, is that I'm sure you guys have some type of like automation and pipeline when it comes to, how a customer comes into your system and different ways you can keep up with them. So, if they follow you on Instagram and Facebook, in ways you can reach out through there, if you have their email and their phone number, like you mentioned. And it's things like when they set an appointment, you can start seeing where did they come from. You can track those things. So you can really track on where your clients are coming from. So you can start investing the time where it makes the most sense and where you're yielding the most results. And you can go look and see, oh, I'm not getting as many results from, say, LinkedIn. Let me see how I can change that. So I'm sure that's a big part of it as well.
It is. So that's the operational piece
Ah,
that's really helping to kind of keep track of where customers are, coming from,
right.
how you're interacting them. But Thryv also has a marketing piece where we're
Mm,
actually doing the Google AdWords, the retargeting
wow.
ads. So think about the last time you looked for something online, shoes, purse, whatever, and then all of a sudden you start seeing ads for that thing you just looked for in your email, in your Facebook account. So that's part of what Thryv does as well as the marketing side. So there's somebody that's already got the CRM, the customers, all the website stuff already solidified and running well. They just need more customers. That's where we can come in on that side and just drive marketing dollars from multiple platforms, not just Google, social media, retargeting type ads, those banner ads that I was just talking about. And then also, native ads. Hey, I've looked for a product or service. Now I'm reading an article and I see an ad for that thing I was just looking for. That's
Yeah,
that's we really try to optimize across all platforms versus
right.
just
Yeah, having that omnipresence of making sure that you continue refreshing in your customers' minds of, "Hey, I'm still here.
exactly
You can come
top of the
back."
mind, top of the mind awareness, right?
Yeah, it's so funny, like, in the car the other day, my dad was talking to his, his sister and brother-in-law, and they were talking about RVs. They were just talking about it in the car. The minute he turns on his phone, what
Yep.
ad does he start getting? And I'm not saying Thrive is doing that, like Thrive is listening to you guys or anything like that, but it's just an example of how on nose those retargeting ads are nowadays. Like,
Correct,
can
because the
you?
internet, everything's listening to you, you
Yeah.
know? So that's where we put your marketing to those people that have looked for or talked about that service.
Yeah. But I'll switch gears just a little bit though. I'm sure like Thrive is so cool. There's so many things that you can learn. So I'm gonna make sure I also link Tabb's interview with Dan down there in the description because it's about like 35, 40-ish minutes, and you guys go really in depth in showing the Thrive platform. So if anyone's interested, you guys can do that. But I'd love to hear a little bit about, who's the first person that invited you to BNI? How'd you find out about it?
So this is going back, I've been with the company 18 years. So this is going back probably 14 years ago.
Wow.
Uh, we worked 6 months in Tallahassee, 6 months over in Destin. So we were never in one spot long enough to be able to join a BNI group. As part of the chamber. So when we were in our Destin for 6 months, somebody said, "Hey, I know you do a lot of networking. I'm part of a networking group. I need a sub." So for the 3 or 4 years, I was going back and forth between the two. Every time I was going to Destin, I was always a sub for different people in different BNI groups, and I really loved it. But at the time, I couldn't join because we weren't there for a whole year. We didn't have any online or hybrid stuff like that back then. So that's kind of how my introduction to it. And I've been with BNI now once we stopped traveling as much as we did, and now we're kind of home based here out of Jacksonville. I joined a BNI 7 years ago and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. You mentioned to me before we started recording that you have a really great BNI success story, and I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Macy. So, like I said, I've been BNI for 7 years, and this is probably going back a couple years ago. One of the business coach in our chapter, Sean McCarthy, introduced me to one of his clients up in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, from
Mm,
Jacksonville to Atlanta, it's about 6.5 hours or so, seven, depending on traffic. So this person I never would have gotten in contact with, never would have known them, never knew that they'd leaded any kind of marketing. So that from that referral, that one introduction generated about $190,000 in revenue for my company.
Wow.
And this is the key, is paid for my BNI membership for the next 15 years if I don't ever get another BNI referral that turns into thank you for close business.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So is it worth it? Yes, all day long.
I think that's so great because it always goes back to that BNI, what's it like saying that's like you never know who knows who.
Yep.
And it's just consistently showing up and being in front of your sales force and saying, hey, you throw out anyone, any company that you'd like to, and you go, oh, well, they're not going to find it. It doesn't matter. At least they think about it, at least
Yeah.
they can think about it in that direction.
And
It
it's
doesn't have,
building those. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're totally good.
It's
Go.
building those relationships outside of your normal meeting, right? I
Right.
had multiple one-to-ones with this business coach. He and I still work closely together,
Amazing.
but to be able to say, hey, think of me when this comes up.
Yeah, that's a big part because I know socials are so, a lot of people go, well, I see you guys all every week for 90 minutes, almost 2 hours every single week. Why would I want to spend more time with you? But I think there's also that point of one-to-ones help, business one-to-ones, but also like casual socials, casual one-to-ones where you're just having a good time, laughing over lunch. And I always feel like a stronger connection with those people when I do my one-to-ones where we're just like kind of it as low key as just like
100%.
riffing off of each other. And I always have such a great impression, though I also have a great impression when we're like, all right, let's talk just the best way we continue helping each other. So it's that balance of really finding out how you work the best with different businesses. Obviously, business coach for you is kind of immediate synergy. There's immediately that connection, but I'm sure there's other companies and other businesses in your chapter where you're like, I never thought you'd refer me, but here you are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's because you're building those connections in that relationship outside of that meeting time.
Exactly. I'd love for you to share a little bit because you are VP of your chapter, and you guys are one of the biggest chapters, if not the biggest chapter in Northeast Florida. I would love for you to share a little bit about how has leadership been for you, and do you have any tips for either other people out there on leadership or anyone who's maybe thinking about leadership this next fiscal year?
Yeah, for sure. So appreciate that question. So yeah, we are actually up to 104 members now. Um, yeah, exactly. I think we're number 3 or 4 in the U.S. So they're in the top rank across the country, not just in Northeast Florida. But yeah, can leadership be difficult? Yes. But think about the visibility, credibility, and profitability. The VSP we talk about in BNI. Does being VP get me any additional money or anything like that? No, but it gives me the visibility in front of my 103 other people I've got in the chapter to say, hey, you know, Tabb's doing a good job at this, let's talk about something else. Or, it gives me more credibility in that role,
Hmm.
to be able to say, okay, he's doing well. And I don't know if you know this, Macy, but I'm also on the BNI director team for Northeast Florida.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I've taken that leadership to the next level on the regional level as well. And it's kind of the same thing. It's, I go around to other chapters, helping them with their chapter education, I do feature presentations. So it's not just about being a leader in my chapter, it's also being a leader in the region. But it all comes back to giver's gain. For me, I looked at my, statistics year over year, 2 years ago, and about 70% of my new business came from BNI.
Wow.
So my thought was, how can I give back to BNI to make that a better use of my time? And
Hmm.
taking those leadership roles was a big part of that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so my point to that in my, words of knowledge, I guess, um, don't be afraid of leadership. Start out small if you need to. If you're not that cool, start out on visitor host team. Be a mentor. But definitely get involved with your chapter. You actually get a whole different look on the chapter and how BNR is run and the benefits of it by taking that next step to being taken in some type of leadership role.
Exactly. Yeah, my mom just started a chapter. Well, she didn't start it, but she was a part of, being a part of the chartered chapter here in Palm Coast. So she just started what in November, and she's the sweetest person ever. So she's of course like the visitor host leader, and I know she's had so much fun just getting to know, and she loves greeting new people and talking to new people and learning about each other's businesses. And it's one of those instances where she just dived right in. She said, "How can I best serve the chapter? I want to make sure this is successful." And you might know they hit Hall of Fame. So it became a
Mhm.
Hall of Fame chapter. So definitely a lot of those people put in the hard work. And it's so great to see from, I'm in a different chapter than her. So there's always something new and interesting you learn about yourself and your BNI and your business when you're a part of something like that.
You got a whole BNI family, literally, huh?
I do, yeah. My dad's in BNI, my mom's in BNI. The only reason my brother's not is because he's too young. Because he's only
Gotcha.
17, so I don't think he can join until he's 18 at least,
Gotcha.
or whatever that might look like. So yeah, I do have it in a literal sense. But Tab, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few minutes. I mean, Thrive is an amazing platform, and you're doing a great job on your leadership. I know I've heard so many great things about you, so I'm
Thank
super
you, Macy.
thrilled that you reached out, and I loved having you on.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on here and talk about me and Thrive and BNI. So
Of
thank you very much
course.
for having me.
Yeah. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.